Social responsibilities of strategic decision makers. Bamford, Hoffman, Unger, and Whelan, 2018, cited Milton Friedman and Archie Carlos have two contrasting views of the responsibilities of business firms to society as follows. Friedman's traditional view of business responsibility. Milton Friedman argued against the concept of social responsibility as a function of the business. According to A. Friedman, a business person who acts responsibly by cutting the price of the firm's product to aid the poor, or by making expenditures to reduce pollution, or by hiring the hardcore unemployed, is spending the shareholders' money for general society. This person has the shareholders' permission or even encouragement and may, in the long run, harm the very society the firm is trying to help. By taking on the burden of this social cost, the business becomes less efficient, resulting to price increases to pay for the increased cost or postponement of investment in new activities and research. These results negatively affect the long-term efficiency of a business. Friedman thus referred to the social responsibility of a business as a fundamentally subversive doctrine and stated that there is one and only one social responsibility of business: to use its resources and engage in activities designed to increase its profits, so long as it stays within the rules of the game, which is to say, engages in open and free competition without deception or fraud.
Carroll's for responsibility of business. Archie Carroll responds to that maximization of profits cannot be the primary obligation of a business. He proposed that the business organization have four responsibilities of follows. Number one, economics. A business organization has the responsibility to produce goods and services of value as a society so that it may repay its creditors and increase the wealth of its stakeholders. An example of economics responsibility is when a company modifies its manufacturing process to include recycled product, which could benefit the company by potentially lowering the cost of materials and also benefit society by consuming fewer source. Number two, legal. A business organization has legal responsibilities that are defined by government. It's law that management is expected to obey. A company must follow the law and have a legal obligation to do so. For example, our companies are required to meet a certain level of emission standard in their product. Number three, ethical. A business organization has the responsibility to follow the generally held beliefs about a behavior in society. Ethical responsibilities include the behavior of a film that is expected by the society but not codified in law. The factors of ethical responsibility include that the business must be environmentally friendly, and business should always be aware of its activities and how they affect the environment. It is the normal and ethical responsibilities of every woman and every business. Number four, discretionary. A business organization has a responsibilities that are a purely voluntary of the part of corporation. Discretionary actions are not a mandatory even from ethical point of view, but are praiseworthy. Philanthropic actions such as charitable donation and voluntary action taken by employees are example of visionary action. Carol listen is for responsibility in orders of priority. A business firm must first make a profit to satisfy its economic responsibility. To continue its existence, the firm must follow the law, thus fulfilling its legal responsibility and being satisfied a two basic responsibility awarded a Carol. A firm should look at fulfilling its social responsibility. Therefore, includes both ethical and discretionary, but not economic and legal responsibility. A firm can fulfill its ethical responsibility by taking action and that society intends to value but not yet put into law. When ethical responsibility are satisfied, a firm can focus a discretionary responsibility, purely voluntary action that society has not yet decided to expect it from every company.
Peter Drucker's view of social responsibility. Peter Drucker suggests that companies should ensure that their social responsibility also become business opportunities. Cohen 2010 cites the Drucker highlights consideration for workers that are parts of responsibility of a corporate leader just as much the profit, survival, and growth of the business or organization. Therefore, he thought that these were the social responsibility of business. As a result, Drucker was also called a pioneer of business social responsibilities. The management thoughts of Drucker about corporate social responsibility were summarized as follows. Social responsibility view of Drucker, he suggested that companies have social responsibility to have business opportunities. He argued that workers are parts of the responsibility of a corporate leader just as much the profit, survival, and growth of the business or organization. As a result, Drucker was also called a pioneer of business social. Number 1, government cannot solve many social problems. Drucker analyzed social issue and found increasing disenchantment with the government ability to successfully initiate or successfully implement social problems. This suggests that companies may tailor their program to help eradicate existing social problems while maintaining their business stability and profitability. Drucker suggests that companies may have their program to eradicate existing social problems while maintaining their business stability and profitability. He also analyzed social issues that found increasing the government's ability to successfully initiate or successfully implement such program. Number 2 is the corporate mission comes first. According to Drucker, the organization's first responsibility must always be to its own mission regardless of other factors. The first social responsibility to the business is to make a profit sufficient to cover operational costs in the future. The group must have the responsibility, this is their mission, to make a profit sufficient to cover operational costs in the future. Number 3, the unlimited liability clause. An unlimited liability clause means that the organization taking action assumes that responsibility for the future outcomes for their initiatives. Most advocate and consumers view highlights price as a social responsibility which must be addressed and reduced. The organization must take take action to solve that problem in the future. It must be their responsibility to see and address that problem.
Stakeholder analysis. A stakeholder is a person with an interest or a concern on particular business undertaking. Stakeholder analysis involved identification and evaluation of corporate stakeholders. Balmholm out 2018 cited that the following process in analyzing stakeholder can be accomplished by the following 3 steps. Identify primary stakeholders. Second, identify the secondary stakeholder. The last is analyze stakeholder influence over strategic decision. Identify primary stakeholder. Primary stakeholder directly participate in the operation of a business. These include owner, employees, customer, supplier, and a vendor. All of these people have direct financial interest in success or failure of the company through their investment in the business itself. In the other word, primary stakeholders are groups that have an actual stake in how a company is run, and they must be considered when making business decisions. Primary stakeholders are your bread and butter. They hold significant power when it's come to influencing the direction of business or a project. As such as they are often the key decision maker in any change program. Example of primary stakeholder includes customer are those who purchase goods and service from the business. Employees is the worker for the business. Owner have a financial stake in the business. Supplier provide goods and service to the business. Vendor are business that provide goods and service to the business. Second is identify the secondary stakeholder. Secondary stakeholder are not directly involved in day-to-day operation of the business. In fact, they are usually more passive than primary stakeholders. However, that doesn't mean they are less important. The secondary stakeholder category is a broad one that includes government agencies and local laws, activist groups, and other organizations who may not have a direct relationship with the business but have an interest in it. You may think of them as your audience. The last one is analyze stakeholder influence over strategic decision. Generally speaking, the management main criteria for decision making is economic, which is why secondary stakeholder could be disregarded or regarded as trivial. For a company to satisfy its moral or discretionary duties, it must carefully examine the needs and any strategic choice. You should take into account that preference of its secondary stakeholders.
Views on ethical behavior. Number 1. Utilitarian approach. This approach proposes that actions and plans should be judged by their consequences. Therefore, people should have behaved in a way that will produce the greatest benefit to society and produce the least harm or the lowest cost. For example, Bobby's decision to buy his sister Sally a car. Bobby buys Sally the car so that she can get back and forth to work. Individual rights approach. This approach proposes that human beings have certain fundamental rights that should be respected in all decisions. A particular decision or behavior should be avoided if it interferes with the rights of others. For example, If we say that we have a right to swim, then that means we're entitled to be able to swim and that others shouldn't try and stop us from swimming. Number 3, justice approach. This approach proposes that decision makers can be equitable, fair, and impartial in the distribution of costs and benefits to individuals and groups. For example, the employee who get awards must do good performance and the rest among the employees in the companies.